Hello and welcome to episode 5, officially our second month of Why Are You Like This podcast. We took last week off for a little
We did.
We needed
We
it.
needed a break.
Bex suggested it and I said, I'm okay. And then Bex went, are you? And I went, no. So
Like, are you
we
sure?
decided to take
No.
it. No. We both had a little bit of a rough past week. I think both of us are feeling a little more rested.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just falling asleep on camera, but I am feeling more rested overall.
Yeah.
And guess what, Bex?
What?
It's a good day to be gay.
It's a good day to be gay.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Happy Pride month. It is our month. And feel free to tell straight people that when they try and tell you off. It's not their month.
And if you're straight, that's okay. But sit down. It's not your month.
Sit down. Sit down.
You can do it.
Yeah. We believe in you. Just.
It's not your time.
We claimed it. I'm sorry. Rainbows everywhere.
You owe us this.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What are we saying?
I don't know. I'm just saying, look, Pride Month for me, I don't know about you, is very special. I think it is for most queer people, but I have been on the sidelines kind of like, yeah, like cheering on the gays from my little closeted corner for most of my life. So this is only my second year out.
Yeah.
So I go all out. Okay, this isn't even all I have planned for Pride yet. Like I'm putting more rainbows. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, because you came out a lot later in your life than I did.
Yeah, I waited until I started streaming till 3 years ago. So I was 28.
Yeah.
I knew I was queer since I was around 12, 13, but it just wasn't safe. It wasn't okay to come out. So I waited until I had some distance from my family and I knew that I was in like a safe position with Brandon and his parents and they were supportive. And I didn't even come out to them. Like I came out on the internet first to like people that I streamed, like viewers and community members, basically. Yep. And now I'm just a big old gay.
Big old gay. I feel like
unapologetically.
Yeah, as you should be. I feel like starting streaming and becoming like, I don't want to say an online presence, but you know what I you know what I mean.
Yep.
I feel like it's really helped me embrace the gay a lot more. I've been out since I was like, I want to say like 14 maybe, but that's because my whole family's really gay.
You got a gay family.
I got a really gay family, so it was still terrifying for some reason, because I think it always is. The only place I wasn't at was my school, because girls' school. And when I did,
so you were dating a girl.
I was dating a girl that went to the girls' school, yeah, and the only thing that I had to deal with was there was a couple of rumors that went around, and I vehemently denied them, of course. And then she used to get really angry, like, you don't have to be gay to support gay rights. I have gay family members, like, you know, all that. Some of my best friends are gay. It's me. I was the friend.
Yep.
But the only, I mean, they got over it, and I'm glad that they did, and I think they apologized later in life. But I had a friend who started to refuse to hug me after I told her that I was.
What, they thought they'd catch your gay?
I don't know if they thought they'd catch it, or if they were worried I was attracted to them. Yeah. I was like, no, you're lovely, but you're not my type.
That's very cishet man behavior.
Yeah.
Sorry, but like no homo behavior.
It very much was, but like in a girls' school, that no homo behavior was very much adopted. Like it was kind of like a whole like team of like football players, you know, where they'll just like slap each other on the ass and they'll be like, oh, but it's fine, no homo. That's kind of like entirely what the girls' school was like. Like everyone would be like, let's practice kissing, ha 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 ha, but we're not gay. Gays are disgusting. We would never.
For the men, obviously.
Yeah, for the men. Like I had a girl once, she started a rumor, not only started a rumor that I was a lesbian, but also started a rumor that I'd stolen her boyfriend. And I was like, those two things can't coexist. I can't be a lesbian that stole your boyfriend. That's not how that works. She was openly bi, but tried to start a rumor that I was a lesbian because that was scarier. And the other thing was her boyfriend didn't exist. She was being catfished online by someone with a Tumblr. No, she was a dick. It's fine. We don't feel sorry for her.
Okay, she deserved it. Okay.
The person, whoever it was that was catfishing, was really lovely. But their supposed name was Chad, and they lived in Canada, and they looked like Andy Biersack from Black Veil Brides. Like, they had the huge, like, black, like, the scene hair and the tattoos, and they were older, blah blah. And she'd be like, "Oh, like, talk to Chad on my phone," and they'd be like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "I don't know who this is, but it's not Chad."
Sorry to tell you.
Sorry to tell you, that's not who it is. And so I think at one point I was just like, GG's on fooling her or something to that effect, and they just like laughed. And like, I was pretty sure it was either like someone that she knew, like a boy from the other school or something like that, maybe even one of the other girls that was like messing with her. But yeah, because I got on with this fake man, I was stealing her boyfriend, and I was an evil, scary lesbian.
Scary.
So I did threaten to beat her up once, but not in.
For legal reasons, this is a joke. Ha ha, ha ha.
I don't know how you made it through. Like, I went to, I did like 2.5 years, my last part of high school, at a Christian school, a Christian private school, but that's nothing compared to an all girls. Like, I would have, I don't know what I would have done. I'm not going to lie. Probably would have been similar.
It was very, yeah. It was not a good place to be gay. It was a bad day to be gay.
I'm glad you're not there anymore, because it's good to be gay here. Wait, so just be okay, because I'm thinking about people might be listening in who don't know how we identify. True. So how do you identify? What's your flavor of queer, Bextra?
I love that. Like, I'm an ice cream. I identify as bisexual because I like the colors. I'm partly kidding. Bi and pan, I feel like both kind of suit me, but I usually go with bi because it feels like a more solid label for me. And I prefer the colors, not gonna lie. But I generally use queer on the internet and things like that because I feel like I really like the word. I think it's more all-encompassing. I feel like it has a sense of community. Yeah, it has a sense of community behind it, and I had it yelled at me, so like, why not take it?
Same. I like queer too, personally, because it doesn't really, like, what's it to you? Do you know what I mean? Like, why do I have to put so much of a label on, like, who I'm attracted to? I'm queer. That's probably enough that you need to know. I'm not straight. Also, I'm queer in terms of my gender identity personally. Like, I identify as non-binary, but okay, I'm still working that out. If I'm completely honest with you, like, I came out as non-binary last year during Pride, and that's because the influences I had around me, of people who are non-binary, were like, no, like, it sounds like you're non-binary, but also still identify with some aspects of being a woman. So like, I don't have a problem with identifying with womanhood in some ways, but I also deny gender as a concept as a whole. Do you know what I mean? Like, gender is, it's fabricated, right? So I remember having a conversation with Brandon where the two of us, like, I was just explaining how, I was raised as a woman. I was socialized as a woman. I was a girl growing up. I had 2 younger sisters. All of us were girls. But I also fully understand that we have fabricated gender. Like, it's a construct of the patriarchy for control, right? So if I believe that, but also identify as a woman, I feel like I'm like lying to myself in some way, shape, or form. Not everybody necessarily feels that way, but I really do feel like non-binaryism is like, it does encompass how I feel, but also womanhood does too. Gender is confusing.
Gender is soup. I think there's also there's a pattern of neurodivergent people not necessarily aligning with the concept of gender because it is such a social construct. And I feel like part of it as well is aligning yourself as a woman. It doesn't feel like giving in to the patriarchy, but it helps people reinforce that on you, right? So it's like they can use the stereotypical, oh, she's a woman, so blah 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 kind of things with you,
right?
Whereas if you're non-binary, you can go, ha, it's jokes on you, I'm not a woman. Actually, suck it. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And when I first learned about like non-binary folks, because again, remember, I was very closeted, I was very sheltered too as a kid, not as much as some other people, but definitely in terms of gender identity and sexuality, like that wasn't anything we were taught about, learned about. It was off limits, right? So when I heard non-binary, I was like, oh, well, I can't be non-binary because I'm not androgynous, because I don't identify with anything like masculine. That doesn't make sense. You can be a femme non-binary person. You can be a non-binary person that uses she, her pronouns. You can. So when I learned about that, I was like, oh, well, then that adds up. And as for my sexuality, I'm like you, except the opposite. Like, I do identify as bisexual, but pansexual seems to fit better for me. The colors I like on the pansexual flag too. I say bi/pan, but if someone asks me to choose one, I typically just say pansexual.
Yeah.
Because of the somewhat of a stigma that there still is on bisexuality, that it's just only the two genders, that there's only two genders. That's not true, and I know that, right? But yeah.
I've had arguments with people before calling me transphobic because I identify as bisexual, and it's not the case at all. And the bi and bisexuality is two or more, and also gender's a social construct. So just I just like,
shut up.
If someone is pretty, they're pretty, and that's just how I'm gonna have to deal with it, because that was basically me growing up. I knew a lot of gay people, like hard aligned gay people. I didn't know any bisexual people. So I remember Googling it, being like, "Is this real? Do I not have to pick one?"
Both? Multiple?
Really? Oh, you're so greedy. It's like, you're just jealous. Like, you can join it. It's okay.
Bi-erasure is real.
Yeah.
Like
you're so greedy. Why can't you just pick one? Bestie, if you wanna play around with both, you're allowed to, right? You don't have to be mad at me. You're more than welcome to join in. Welcome to the community. You don't have to stress about it. It's like, well, how come it's not fair? Well, no one's stopping you. Like,
yeah,
you sound really jealous. Like, I'm sorry, but you sound jealous.
Like, we're not gatekeeping.
No, join the party.
Right. From what I understand, from most people, when it comes to like bisexuality, it usually means that there is some kind of gender that you may not be attracted to, if that makes sense, right? Like, and when I've had discussions with people who identify strongly as bi, they're like, yeah, usually there's a gender out there that I'm not super attracted to. With pansexual people, it's kind of like, I don't care what's in your pants or what's in your brain. If I like you, I like you. Kind of thing, right?
I feel like bisexuality is often used if there's a preference, even if it's a like very, very slim preference. Because when I was growing up, because I was dating someone identified as a woman, I was convinced that my like preference was like 70-30 women over men. But I went to an all-girls school. I hadn't socialized with men when I was growing up, not since I was like 10. So I hadn't really been around men. And then I went to a college when I was like 16, and I met some men, and I was like, well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was a little bit wrong. And then I figured out, it's like, I'm more kind of 50-50, but I keep with bi, I think, because I usually like men and women for different reasons. And then non-binary people that don't fit into either category usually present a certain way, like masc or femme or androgyny. I'm good with all of it. That's kind of why I float with the idea of pan, but there's usually specific attributes that I like from either construct of
that makes sense
human that I
it's just very interesting to me that like you were raised around women, girls for a lot of it, and like for me, I did not have the chance to experiment outside of just straight men. I mean, I'm in a long-term committed relationship with Brandon. We've been together for like 8 years. Very happy in that relationship. No desire to experiment really outside of that, but there is a little part of me that's kind of like, oh, I wish that I was raised in a family, in a home that accepted queerness and accepted self-exploration and discovery, so that like if I wanted to, I could go on a date with a woman and maybe not have this nagging feeling in the back of my head like, I wonder what that would have been like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I have a few friends like that, and I had a friend who, I'm sure she won't mind me talking about this. She identified as bisexual once she finally admitted to herself that she'd decided to come out. But then she'd have conversations with me saying like, I don't know if I'm only identifying with bi because I grew up my whole life thinking I'd have a husband and children. And that, like, social idea of, like, you grow up, you get a husband, you have kids and a dog, and you marry a man.
Yep.
And that's how I always envisioned my life going. And I can't really deviate from that. And then, like, a year ago, she came out as a lesbian, and her fiance are very happy. And
is that the one that just
it
got
is,
engaged?
yeah.
Oh,
So
really
so
cool.
she put on Instagram that was her first pride as a lesbian, and I was very proud of her. But yeah, it was holding on to that idea of like, well, when I grew up as a little girl, it was like, oh, one day you'll marry a man, you'll find your prince.
It's a man,
and
yep.
It could be hard for a lot of people to let go of that idea of what they had for their life, even if they're not actually attracted to men. It's a very hard thing to let go of. Internalized
homophobia is a wild trip, and I still experience it. I think a lot of gay people do. It's interesting to me because growing up, like, when I acknowledged that I was queer, I remember, like, Yahoo Answers. Remember that? Little Candace spent a lot of time there because I knew my uncle was gay. My mom told me, my mom outed my uncle to me. And, like, I remember Googling, like, what happens with, like, because there was a lot of stigma too. Like, I remember, I believed, like, the AIDS, like, stigma because that's what I was taught. I remember, all of these really weird things about gay people that I was taught growing up that were just not true, just controversies in the church and stuff, right? So yeah, I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, so say I'm dating a man and that man says, I'm a woman, I'm going to transition to be a woman. How would I feel about that? And I remember at a very young age being like, I feel like if I loved that person that I wouldn't care. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like if I had that connection, little did I know that that's pansexuality essentially, right? I just didn't have a word for it as a kid. And then I've actually asked that question to my mom before. That was an interesting conversation. Like, how would you feel if dad transition? Like, and my parents are homophobic. My dad is incredibly homophobic. My mother has come a long way, and I'm really proud of her for, like, how far she's come. I really wish my dad would kind of listen and maybe learn a little bit. But the settings that I was raised in, like, for example, okay, just to give you an idea of, like, how much homophobia and transphobia I was raised with, I used to be really involved in the church, obviously, and I used to do a lot of music and like worship band, and I would look up the music and try to find different renditions of it and stuff to get ready for the show, like the Sunday or the Friday youth group. Not concert, what do you call it? The service, right? I remember one time looking on YouTube, looking for a specific song, and the only version of it that I could find that was the one that I wanted was sung by a trans woman who was playing her guitar and singing it. And she was, like, for straight up worshiping, like she was a Christian. My dad walked in on me being like, what is this garbage? What are you doing? Turn that disgusting garbage off, right? And I remember thinking, okay, so a trans person can't ever be good enough for you, even if they're literally, like, worshiping your God and playing your worship songs. And what do you want from them? You know what I mean? Like, like, that was a really big turning point for me when I went, my dad's wrong. Because you know that point when you come, like, we love our parents, but there comes a point when you're growing up that you go, like, oh, they can be wrong. Like, that was a very big moment for me when I went, ew, Dad, what the hell? Like, yeah. So that, and my best friend Rune, I've talked to you about them before. They were out about being, like, gay at the time, not about their, like, gender, but and my parents knew. And my dad, I remember very clearly at one point he told me, like, I don't really like you hanging out with, like, them because of their, like, lifestyle choices. And I was like, we're in grade 11. What are you talking about? Yeah, well, you do know that they're going to hell for that. Literally said that to me. I'm in grade 11. You know that your best friend is going to hell. And I know he didn't mean to hurt me, but that, again, okay, my dad is very wrong. Like, there's some real indoctrination that is just blocking you from having some kind of open mind around. Yeah, it very interesting. So it's taken a long time for me to deconstruct some of that stuff, right? Still doing it.
It's very difficult. It was my nan, bless her, was she was the most well-meaning person, but she, like, her view on me being queer was, oh, but it's such a hard life. And I was like, yeah, but
Yes.
I can't change the way that I am. But it's such a hard life. As you like both, can't you just pick men, because that would be so much easier. And she,
a lot of women did
Yeah.
that, Bex, in history. Yeah.
And she asked my mum. She went, "Well, when is she gonna stop?" And so my mum went, "When she's 21." My nan went, "Okay then." And she was just fine with it, because she had in her head, because my nan was crackers, she had in her head that when I was 21, it would be fine, because I'd find a nice man, and I wouldn't have,
Bippity-boppity
I
straight.
wouldn't have such a hard life. But bless her, it was genuinely because she knew, like, because she was absolutely fine. She loved my uncles, my dad's brothers, who are some of,
So she cares about
some
you.
of the most flamboyant gay men on the planet. She thought they were fabulous. She'd constantly tell them how fabulous they were. She cared about me, and she was like, well, as you do like both, pick the easier side.
We're not going to get, like, ostracized and, yeah. And that's the hard part, is that, like, I know my dad said the things he said not out of, like, malice, but because he genuinely cares for my soul and where I'm going to go in the afterlife. And, like, I know he loves me, but he's been led so wrong in understanding gender and sexuality, and he's not really willing to, like, educate himself around it. It's tough. It's really tough. So we just don't have discussions around that. When I was raising funds for, like, the Trans Empowerment Project, or when I, like, came out last year, I didn't tell my parents about that. We're just gonna. My mom is a lot better, like I said, but
sometimes
it's
you
hard.
have to pick your battles.
Yeah. Yes.
You really have to pick your battles.
Speaking of picking battles, like you said about your grandma, have you seen, like, the TikToks and videos of these, like, women who are, like, 90, 100, like, elderly women? Am I getting a call?
Do you not know that we're recording a podcast right now?
We're in the middle of we have a podcast.
Did you know? Just answer the phone like, hey, did you know we have a podcast? Just like, can you call back later, please?
It's Pride Month. Sit down. So basically, like, elderly women, like not on their deathbed, but, like, quite old, and their, like, granddaughter will ask, like, so if you could go back and do your life again, what would you do? I wouldn't get married. They'd say, like, oh, okay, well, and a lot of the time their answers are like, I wouldn't marry a man. I don't want, like, and I'm like, if you had the option, yeah. So I think that comp het is real. You know what I mean? And it's been a part of what we deal with for a long time, and I think that there's something very liberating about being like, I know, I'm tired of it, like, it's not worth it.
I think the best example I was ever given of your sexuality is not a choice is a friend of mine who was a gay man turning to me and going, sweetie, if I had a choice, do you think I'd like men? And I was like, no, I guess not. He was like, women are ethereal, and they're beautiful, and they smell good, and they're always soft. Why would I pick men if I had a choice? And I was like, yeah, you make a lot of sense. I say this as somebody who's in a long-term relationship with somebody who aligns as a male, because it just happened that way. But we're both queer, and I feel like that balances it out in my brain.
And I relate to that, because I look at Brandon and I love the hell out of Brandon, and I wouldn't trade him for the world, but I'm like, he's such a man sometimes. he's such a man sometimes. So, like, it just goes to show, right?
It's not a choice.
You're right.
Your love is not a choice. It happens, and you just go along for the ride. You're just hanging out.
You do.
I am mad that all of the stereotypes about bisexual women and, like, nerdy little gamer boys is 100% true, though. I thought I was going to be the
golden retriever gamer boy.
thought I'd be the exception to the rule. Turns out, nope. It comes for us all.
Sorry.
So they get
I see the TikToks all the time, and I'm like,
shut up.
Shut up.
Don't speak so loud. Like, lower your voice.
I was looking at some, like, older pictures of Brandon and I the other day, and like he really was just like the nerdy, lanky gamer boy. Like he's obviously we've both changed and like our bodies have changed and everything has changed. But I definitely scooped up a lanky, nerdy gamer boy.
There's one for each of us.
Anyway,
we're just supposed to pick them up.
Plenty.
If you're a bisexual out there and you're still waiting on your golden retriever gamer boy, I promise you they're out there. It's like the cat distribution system. You'll get one. Just hang around in a Discord channel and you'll eventually scoop
check
one.
The sides of the highway. Yeah, it'll your prince will come. Discord specifically is a great place.
Twitch. Dead by Daylight.
Reddit?
No,
Reddit.
No,
don't recommend.
Not Reddit. Or Twitter.
No, it's the wrong area.
Bad. If they say they stream on Kick, bad. Just stay away.
Look for ones that play D&D in particular, like that will help.
Magic the Gathering, that kind of.
Mm-hmm.
They never speak to you about wizards and magic. You're probably alright. You know what I mean?
Did I ever tell you about the time that I went on a date? I made a TikTok about it. With a guy who I'm still friends with him now, Jordy. We met online. We met on Plenty of Fish. I was in like first year university. I was like 19, and I was gonna meet him in person. And it was like 11 p.m. Okay, I don't know what I was doing, but I was like, sure, I'll go to your apartment. I show up. Well, I know. Okay, I made some weird decisions.
Don't do as we say, not as we do.
I had seen him walking around campus, so I knew like he was a person, at least. And I knew he had a roommate, so it wasn't just him, and his roommate was a woman. And so like I showed up and I went into his bedroom. We both sat on his bed, which was like a futon, but it was sitting up as like a couch. And I was uncomfortable. I was like, okay, this is fine. Like this is just a normal date. And I just remember feeling like, please don't murder me. He goes, I want to show you something. And I go, oh, and he's like, yeah, I want to show you something really cool. And he reaches under his bed and I go, okay, this is the moment. This is the Jeffrey Dahmer moment. He pulls out these binders and they're full of Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Magic the Gathering cards. And like, I remember going like, okay, this is my people. We feel good. This like,
all cares out the window. Everything's fine.
So he's bragging. This one's worth $300.
It's like you see those TikToks and it's like, how do you know your man won't cheat on you? It's like I know why.
And then we watch Top Gear and Korean people play StarCraft, and
sounds like a wonderful evening.
It was actually really nice, yeah. So, that's a good chat. Good comms, good chat.
GG's.
So I guess we haven't really talked about our coming out stories, but it's kind of hard because like you didn't really have to like come out. Did you like have a moment where you went, "Hi, I'm gay"? Like or was just
my mom asked me.
Okay.
And originally I said no. And then a couple weeks later she asked me again. And I was like, yeah. Yeah. Because she'd worked out that I was dating my friend. Like, are you dating this person? No. Me? No.
How dare you?
How dare you insinuate such a thing? And like a couple of weeks later, like, are you sure? Yeah, I am. Yeah, that's very correct. Yeah, I
and did like
it was. I do remember coming out to my friends. We so weird. We were having a sleepover. There was like 7 of us. And we were like laying in the dark. And we were like, we should tell secrets. I was like, okay. So we all went down and it ended up with these like 7 teenage girls all basically going, yeah, I think I might be bi too. Because they'd all just like, we were like maybe like 12, 13, and it was a thing of just like hormones and like wanting to experiment and that kind of thing, and like not knowing like what the fuck was happening. And it's just like our friends going, yeah, I think maybe too. So then we all had this thing, and then it turned out only like 2 of us were actually queer. The rest were just like very. It was phased. They were very confused. But it was
Got you.
Yeah, it was just like us laying in the dark, all being like, "Oh, we have to keep each other's secrets," and it became like this like sleepover club, like fucking thing where we all thought we were gay, and then like all of them were like, "Yeah, no, it turns out I'm actually not," and that was just me and my like then girlfriend being like, "Oh no, we definitely are. We're
Yeah,
No,
no,
I'm
nothing's
sorry.
changed.
I wish I could jump off the train with you, but I'm kind of locked in here. I'm definitely one of them.
I love that. I really do. That's fantastic. Yep. No, I kind of wish that I had like a big coming out story. I really don't. I think I just remember having this one moment. So I started streaming in August, July of 2020, like after like in the middle of the pandemic heydays, early days. And I remember starting streaming and I wasn't out. I knew I was queer. Brandon knew I was queer, but like no one else knew. His parents didn't know. And then I realized how much queer community there was on Twitch, and like a lot of my friends from IRL who like are queer came and joined and watched and hung out. And at one point I realized I was like, okay, I'm going to do this one of two ways. I'm either going to like have a persona that I'm going to put out there that's very like limited and I don't put myself out there. I kind of shelter and keep myself back, or I'm going to be very transparent and just like, it is what it is. I am what I am. Popeye. Yeah. And I chose the latter. And I was like, you know what? I just want to be very open about who I am. And I just started talking about my sexuality. And I came out as bi actually first. I remember putting it on Twitter. And it just kind of happened. And then the next year, wait, let me think. Yeah, last year, I realized that like I was having feelings about my gender identity, and I was like, I'd like to have a proper like shebang, like coming out party. So we did a big gay redacted party, is what it was called, because I was gonna tell people during the stream, and it was really fun. It was cute. So I just celebrated with my online family, and my parents know, but like it's not a celebration thing. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like
talk about it kind of thing.
Mm-mm. Just like with Uncle Trevor, like I'll never forget. I remember what I was doing too. I was shuffling through shoes in the closet, you know, those like sliding closet doors. And I remember hearing my sister go, "When is Uncle Trevor gonna have a baby so we can have cousins? And when is he gonna find a wife?" And I remember going, "I don't
Well,
don't know about that one." So it's not a celebratory thing, but I will say Brandon's parents have been a lot more supportive than mine in terms of my sexuality. Like they've talked with me a little bit about it. And the cutest thing is like the year that I came out, Brandon's mom gave me a pair of like rainbow socks for Christmas. And I know like it's just socks, but I treasure those socks so
really
much
cute.
because she's like a mother figure in my life. And that's like a nod of approval. And I don't know, yeah.
I love that. I feel like Twitch, being the mess that it is, was really helpful for us both, because when I started streaming, I didn't hide the fact that I was queer, but I didn't use any of the tags. When I first started, because I was terrified, because I knew that I had already experienced the internet and what it could be like, and I was like, I am terrified to potentially put a huge target on my back and be like, hey, gay. And I started like introducing them like a little bit more. Like I think I put like a bisexual tag on, and then I noticed that a couple of people found me through that tag and like came in and was like, "Oh, I found you through this," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And then like I made some more friends on Twitch, and they were largely queer, and very open about it. Like my friend Bunny, non-binary, bisexual, very very openly like, I am queer, like they she pronouns, like emphasis on the they, like very very queer. And becoming friends with them, I started being like, well, they're doing it, they're managing. So then I put in,
they're still alive.
Put in like the LGBTQ tag, and then like started like doing it. And then like I remember I started doing in my like when somebody would raid me, I'd be like, hi, I'm a queer Twitch streamer. I remember like the first time I did that, I was like, well, you've put it out there now.
There's no backpedaling from that one.
And it was ridiculous because like all of my online friends were queer. Most of the people I had in my streams were queer, and we'd talk about things like that. And some of my friends are unavoidably queer. They're like so openly out there. So it was ridiculous that I wasn't ever, if somebody had asked me, I never would have said no. But it was officially putting the plus size tag in my Twitch stream as well. It was like this is solidifying a way people can come and get me if they want to. And I think finally accepting that and being like, now I'm just openly, I'm just, all the gay things everywhere. The first thing I say is like, I'm a gay horror streamer, I'm a gay variety streamer, I'm a queer streamer. But having a group of people online, because it wasn't even like my IRL friends weren't queer, we all were, but it feels, especially where I live currently, it's not a safe space to be queer. And it's where I live currently, really, really not a safe space to be queer. And when I started streaming while I was living here, I started streaming in the pandemic, and I was like, well, nobody's going to be leaving their houses for like a year or two, so might as well just be my gayest self online and see what happens, because no one can come and get me. I'm safe. I'm not going outside.
There was like a level of like freeing, like feeling with the pandemic, as weird as that sounds. I'm not trying to like romanticize the pandemic, first of all, but I knew that I wouldn't be seeing my family for like a while, right? Because of the pandemic. And I went, well, what's the worst that could happen? They try to call me and I don't pick up so that they can't be homophobic to me. Like not that I'm exaggerating, but that's kind of what I thought. I was like, I come out online and there are like no consequences in my life for that, basically, because I'm not leaving my home, so I could be who I wanted to be. And I really thought there'd be like some level of code switching involved with streaming, and some people do, but instead it was just a lot of, I was able to unmask too. Like it was just streaming really did
streaming
some stuff.
Really helped. Streaming really, because I originally thought when I first started streaming, it was, I wasn't a proper streamer. I was just no face cam, broadcasting the game I was playing, which was usually DBD, with my friends in VC for like 8 hours, because we'd just be playing DBD because it was a pandemic. Nobody was going outside. Nobody had work. Nobody could do anything. So I was playing video games for like 12, 10, 14 hours. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll stream it. And the reason I started streaming was friends that couldn't play then wanted to watch and like hang out. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll do that. And then when I decided, hey, maybe I want to be an actual streamer, I was like, well, you know, if it doesn't work out, okay, but I've got nothing else to do at the moment, so why don't I just go and be all of the most flamboyant version of myself that I can possibly think of, and put that out there and see if it happens. And the more I accepted, the more I talked about being queer and being plus size and stuff like that, the more I noticed my stream having some kind of like an authenticity to it. I was never trying to be somebody I wasn't, but it gave people, I think, more of a connection to me rather than just I am somebody who turns up occasionally, plays a game. Like, it became much more than about playing the game, because people used to come and watch me if I was playing a specific game. It would be, I want to watch somebody play Little Nightmares at the moment, so I will click on this stream. And now people show up and they're like, I want to see what Bex is doing today, and oh, they might be playing a game, cool, that's fine. And that was a real turning point, and it was because of having a huge queer community on Twitch and through Discords and stuff like that, because you meet one queer person, there's like 17 more behind. Like, it's just the way it works on the internet. It's brilliant.
Yep. I feel like that was a turning point for me too, because on Twitch and in content creation and in general, it's competitive, right? And there are so many hundreds of thousands of people who just show up and play a game and they're there. You being you, like you authentically, like there's only one of you, right? So the people who are looking for that kind of content are going to stick around and they're going to relate to that and they're going to connect to that. And I remember having that thought process in my first year of streaming, being like, I'm just going to be me. And if you don't like it, like it's and I think that that's worked well for both of us, honestly. So
yeah, it's hard. Being a queer streamer is hard. Being a queer fat streamer is harder.
Well, we're seeing people quit, right? Like multiple people have been throwing in the towel, understandably.
Dropping like flies, and I get it. I really, really do.
Because it's gotten a lot harder. Even over 6 months, it's gotten a lot harder. You and I are both like fist bump, bitch. Just been hard since day one.
Real hard. It's been real hard.
It has.
Because yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you're gonna get hate if you're queer and fat, they got two ways to jab. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're not reacting
Mm-hmm.
to the fat stuff, then oh well, you've got a flag
Move
behind
on to
you.
the
Like, we'll just like
yeah.
entice really horrible hate speech about your identity, and then I don't know about you, but I find homophobic comments or transphobic comments or anything like that annoy me more than fatphobic comments,
Mm-hmm.
because fatphobic comments,
Oh,
it's
for
about
sure.
me. Like, I'm aware that I'm
Yeah.
fat. Like, I've dealt with that my whole life. But when you're,
It's how I
yeah,
look.
it's
Yeah.
about how I
Yeah.
look. When you're talking about, because people largely, nobody's being persecuted or anything like that for being fat. Like, yeah, we get a lot of shit for it, but people are being there's
Yeah.
shit going on if you're queer
There's oppression for
across the
sure,
world.
but queerness, you can be
You,
like
you can
killed
be
for
killed. You
that.
can
You
go
know
to
what I mean?
jail.
Like
You
outright.
can like nobody's gonna lock me
Yeah.
up because I'm fat, but somebody might lock
As
me
a
up
fat
because I'm
person going to
queer.
Russia,
Yeah,
I might be okay, but as a queer person, exactly. So I get what you're saying. I also feel like that's a really integral part of who I am as a person. Like being fat, yes, has shaped a part of who I am, and I would obviously feel differently if I wasn't my whole life. But my queerness is like a really important, special part of who I am. Whereas my fatness, like if I wasn't fat, I'd still be
you
me.
can
Do you know what I mean? If I wasn't queer, I
you
wouldn't be
can change
me.
your fatness. We could
Yeah.
lose weight tomorrow and no longer
Yes.
be plus size streamers, but we're still gonna be queer
Yeah.
streamers at the end of the day.
Yep.
It's integral.
Yep.
It cannot be
Exactly. That
changed,
is
and
inherently
it's
us.
inherently us more than
Yep.
as much as I appreciate it. Yeah, I've always for a large part of my life I've been plus size, and that has shaped who I am. Like you said, I could change it. I could be a skinny legend tomorrow, and then I wouldn't be able to use the tag anymore, but I'd still be
Well,
queer as fuck. Like,
it's also not in our control
Mhm.
is the other thing. Like I had illness, like I had my jaw surgery relapse that happened. I lost 70 pounds or something within a few months of time. And no, I wasn't thin, but I wasn't like as fat. You know what I mean? And it really put things in perspective for me because I went like, oh, like I could be not fat, not like, and have no say in it. You know what I mean? And same way that people gain weight and not have any say
Yeah.
in it. But yeah, the the homophobic and transphobic comments are the ones that irk me the most because I've been getting made fun of for my weight for my whole life. You know, like it's not that it's okay, but it is definitely normal and has happened forever. So, yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah,
it's tough, but we're not planning on stopping anytime soon.
no,
We're
no, no,
staying
no, no.
put. And I know there's a lot of discourse about Twitch at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously this goes out on YouTube. We do diversify our content as best as we can do, but at the moment I don't, not that I necessarily feel 100% safe on Twitch, but I feel like my corner of the internet on Twitch is a safe space for me.
Mm-hmm.
And going anywhere else right now is too scary. Starting again and
Yep.
trying to build up a safe community on another platform, I'm not planning on it anytime soon. I'm
Mm-hmm.
quite happy with the little core of the internet that I've been cultivating for the last 2 years.
And the thing with me is that, like, same with me with Twitch. I'm not planning on leaving Twitch anytime soon. Like, if they make any silly decisions like they've been talking about, I don't know. I might have to reconsider. But right now, I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing. But like with YouTube, for instance, I've been really trying to grow this channel. And I spent the first 2 years of streaming thinking in my head, like, I should be posting to YouTube. I should be trying to grow that. I was really focused on community-based stuff and growing the Discord and the mod team and making sure people are on the same page. And I don't regret that, but it does mean that I'm a bit behind on having some kind of a fallback, like with YouTube, right? And it's hard. Like I have been putting effort into YouTube, and it takes work. And um, ideally, I wouldn't like I would like it that we could just keep Twitch as it is, but it is changing. You know, like I said, people are leaving, and I'm reading the comments of the people who are leaving, being like, it just doesn't feel, especially like from queer streamers being like, it's just too hard. It's just too much. And I have a target on my back being a queer streamer. And that's true. And that's why I think that the people you surround yourself with in terms of other creators and your community is so important. Like letting it slip just because somebody likes to give you a bunch of gift subs, and even though they're a shitty person, they make your community feel shitty. Or not acting on people who are killing the vibe in your Discord, that kind of thing. Like, it's hard to make those decisions, but I think that's the reason that both you and I have the solid and safe, quote unquote safe communities that we have, because we make those hard decisions, right? Like it's
a difficult
it's
a difficult one, and if this continues the way that we're hoping it does, it's going to be 2 different YouTube channels to run,
Yep.
2 different sets of goals to hit, and it's tough. And I think much like you saying, like, I'm like somewhat annoyed I didn't start posting to YouTube sooner. I spent a lot of time going back and forth on just the kind of content I wanted to put out, that I didn't really settle until like the start of this year on, like, this is the kind of content I do, this is who I am as like a content creator. And because I spent so long doing that, I didn't have the time to focus on anywhere else, because I was too busy being like, well, what? Because I used to change up my content based on what I thought people wanted to watch, and I've ended up doing
when they don't care.
No,
they want to watch what you want to do and what you're enjoying, right?
Circle moment back to what I originally started doing when I streamed, which was predominantly horror streams, and because I started at one point playing Animal Crossing. Like, I'd do like a 12-hour DVD stream and then be like, come and check out my island. And while I love Animal Crossing New Horizons...
I've seen you play Stardew.
Yeah, I love Stardew Valley. I will play it for like 19 hours in one day and not get any sleep. But that's my off-stream game. That is my...
Right.
I need to decompress, or I have a farm with my friends, or I have a farm with my partner, and I play Stardew in silence, because I noticed... The way I like to play Stardew is like this close to the screen, like no blinking, just like no noise, just like with my controller, just eating and like playing. I don't make any noise, and trying to like vocalize over like, I'm gonna go to the mines. My brain can't handle it. Whereas if I'm playing a horror game, I will sing and keep myself distracted. I will be cracking jokes to keep myself from like freaking out. And I firmly like planted myself back in that category now. And now I'm like, okay, I'm like 2 years in. Now let's start actually like putting stuff across the board and moving from like
that makes me happy
streamer to content creator. I feel like that's a step that people have to take, and it's tough to be like, okay, I'm gonna. It's scary.
I was quite comfortable just being streamer, and then over the past 6 months, even like last fall, right? Like things shifted. You could feel it happening, and people were moving to different places. And there's Kick now, and there's like obviously fuck Kick, but like there's at least right now.
I think
And I thought to myself, we gotta do something different. But
I think it was a lot of people started having that realization when queer and predominantly Black streamers started getting the hate raids last year.
That was last September. Yeah.
That really frightened a lot of queer and POC streamers to be like, okay, like fuck, like we've tried really hard and we have to be really brave now and carry on so that this shit doesn't win. And that was a really hard.
They take 50%.
Yeah, it was really really
that's
hard.
That's hard pill to swallow. Yeah. You're so right. That was exactly around the time when a lot of those hate raids were happening. I remember with Cozy TV. And I remember there was like the 2 days off Twitch. Remember when there was people who were protesting, like nobody streamed these 2 days, and like what good that did. Like Twitch didn't listen to any of us. So we got a few more moderation tools. Like, I'll be honest, they have tried in some areas, but in the end, I don't think anyone's going to be happy until they go down to like a 70-30 split like YouTube does. It's just so greedy of them to take 50%.
It's the fact they can give us 70-30, they're choosing not to. It's
totally,
it's hard, and it's hard to put your effort into something, but I think that's where you and me do it right, is in focusing on, at the end of the day, yes, we need the money to pay our bills and stuff like that, but if we know we can build a community that has our back and we're not going to give up on them, they'll be there. And that's one, as a, like, we talk a lot about, wow, words are hard. We talk a lot.
You're doing great.
We talk a lot as queer people about like chosen family, and I think as streamers, you like, without delving into like parasocial relationships and stuff like that, you do, especially with your mod teams, you have to have a lot of trust in your moderators to be like, okay, I got like 7 targets on my back, keep me safe. And if you find people that can do that for you, that can get rid of the stuff before you even have to see it, that's the most important tip I could give to any queer person that wants to become a content creator, is find a moderation team that will keep you safe.
Gets
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Because not everybody, like, and I've learned this, right? Like, and this is no hate to anybody in particular, but not everyone who signs up to mod understands what that means to a particular streamer, right? Because there are streamers out there, I know them, I'm friends with them, who it's not the same. It's there isn't that like queer community necessarily or chosen family vibe. And again, I know like teetering on the parasocial relationship aspect of things, but I try to be careful with that. But like I have friends, and this again, no hate to them, but their mod team, they're there to, if they're there and they swing the banhammer. But like one thing I've made very clear is that for my community, my mod team is not just to like protect from the odd hate raid or the odd jerk in chat. Like it is they're the leaders, they're the support, they're the people that you can ask questions to, they're the people that make welcome people, new people in chat, right? And I view my mod teams, like some of the mods on the team are my closest friends and people I consider family, right? So, and maybe some people might have stuff to say about that, being like that is parasocial relationships, or if you view your community as family, it's a big debate, right? But for me, I don't have queer community really IRL. Like I haven't ever. Like I have a few friends like Gems and Aaron, but like
Gems and Aaron also are a solid part of your online queer community as well. That
I got to know them online. Yeah. Well, okay, that's not true. Gems did my hair for a long time, still does my hair. And Aaron, do you know how Aaron and I met technically?
No, I don't think so.
They worked at the place that I had worked at after I worked there. And I started working at a gluten-free bakery, and we had so much bakery goods to throw out, and I didn't want to throw them out, so I would go to like local places to just drop them off for people. And I remember going to the place they work and being like, "Hi, this is gluten-free cupcakes, goodies. I don't know if you want it or not." That was like the first time we met in person. And honestly, we never met in person again. They would just show up to streams and hang out. And Gems and I had our like, working relationship. We would talk while 4 or 5 hours getting my hair done, but we weren't like super close. It was all online that we kind of got to know each other. So while I understand that parasocial relationships, and I've experienced them, can be real toxic, I think that it's wrong to say that you can't have queer community and family in your viewers, in your
one of my mods, one of my closest friends, John, we've been friends for 4 or 5 years, I think. We met in person. We went to the same university.
It's Chaos Magpie?
Yeah, Chaos Magpie. If you don't follow him, go do that. And John and I used to only really hang out before the pandemic. If we were going on nights out, if we were drunk, because the first time we met, we were both working at the same festival as a helpful arena support person, like basically like, where are the bathrooms? We were that kind of person. And so that just involved a lot of
like visitor services.
Yeah, it just involved a lot of drinking and listening to Fall Out Boy live on a stage. Like it was, and that was kind of what our friendship was. It was great. It was a great time. But then we lived in the same city and we went to university together, and we very rarely saw each other. We did not speak out of like, hey, do you want to go on a night out? Yeah, sure, let's do that. We didn't really speak. And then the pandemic came along, and we both knew how to use Discord. So we started like video calling, and we would video call like once a week at least, if not a couple of times a week. And it started off where we'd get like all our friends together and have like Discord drinks or like Zoom drinks and stuff like that, because we're British and there's a problem over here with drinking. But then it escalated.
Yeah, I'm from Newfoundland. Yeah. Sorry, but like it's
And then I said to him, I was like, I think I'm gonna start streaming. So, oh, that's really cool. Okay, I'll try and like stop by. I was trying to stop by, and I ended up being like, hey, do you want to like? I know you don't really know how Twitch works and stuff like that, but like, can I add you as a moderator just so like I know someone like with a couple of my other friends? Like, but yeah, of course, no worries. And then through me streaming and them turning up to stream and then talking to them as a moderator and stuff like that, we are closer friends. And we live in different parts of the UK. We are closer friends than we ever were when we lived 10 minutes around the corner from each other, because of streaming and online gaming and that kind of structure of community. So I think, I mean, I met my partner online that I've been with for almost 2 years now. technically through Twitch because they moderated for a channel that I used to watch, and I ended up whispering them one day.
That's cool.
And being like, "Hey," and then we became friends
from the UK.
We became friends, and then through friends we started talking, and then like the rest is kind of history. So I think for queer people, I know they say don't make friends on the internet when you're a kid, but sometimes that's the only that's what you got. And that's no disrespect to my friends that I have IRL that are also queer, but I don't get to see them very much because we're all in different cities and we're so spread apart. So having an online,
this is very accessible.
Yeah, having an online queer family is incredibly important, as well as having wonderful family that support me being online and doing what I do online. It's kind of an invaluable experience. And I, as much as homophobia and stuff like that as I've faced, I have been very, very lucky. And I'm very aware of how lucky I've been with the upbringing that I had in the gayest of households that I had.
Oh, I love that. Oh, emotional, Baxter. Emotional about it. We got serious this week. We're gay and we're doing our best.
Words. I think we said we may look into whether it continues as a weekly podcast or whether it's a less frequent, like a 2 a month kind of podcast. Because obviously, at the moment, we're both full-time content creators, so we have a lot of things to try and juggle. And as much as we love this, we need to make sure that we are not spreading ourselves too thin. So, but what we can promise is if this does continue, we will put all of the effort we have into making sure
our whole
asses into making it great. So again, I know we say it literally every episode, but thank you so much for all of the love we've had so far. It's been truly invaluable, and as two fat queer people trying to be some kind of representation, having people being receptive to that has been, and it makes us feel like we're doing something. Do you know what I mean?
It's very validating.
Yeah, it's very it makes all of our content creation. I think the reason that we both do it is we wanted to be representation for people that don't get a lot of it, and we want to learn, and we want to uplift voices that aren't being heard, and we want to make people's days brighter. So that's.
I like making people laugh.
I like making people laugh. Too. I think I'm very funny. I think you're very funny. I think we're very funny.
But yeah, I agree that was one of the biggest things that I had, that revelation last year, where I was like, wow, we talked about this recently. How many fat femme Twitch partners can you think of? Like, literally I can think of 3. And like Twitch is all it's my whole life, right? And that's not including me, but I remember thinking to myself before I got partner, like, I want to be that representation, because it's really awful that I can't think of anybody. Like, where is it, right? So, and I want to uplift other fat queer femmes on the platform. I know you feel the same way. So hopefully we can do that, because I know we're both working our butts off. Between the two of us, I think we've done a pretty good job of balancing the work of this podcast for this 2-month trial, but I don't know if it's sustainable going forward. We'll have to talk about it. We'll have to see what, right? Because like, you do the editing every week, but that's a lot on top of like editing your own content from your own like VODs and clips for like TikTok and stuff. So it's tough, but it's fun. I have enjoyed literally every single time we've sat down to talk, and like getting to edit clips and stuff and reading comments from people too. People really do seem to enjoy it, and that makes me really happy.
When people call back to something we've said in a podcast, if they come into stream chat and do like a callback to something from the pod, it makes me happy.
Maverick does that. Doomcat
does that.
Doomcat. Lux does
it's just constantly. If like the first thing Maverick says in a chat is like a quote from like the podcast episode for that week, I'm like, oh, I just
Bingo
love
memes.
you. Like, it's so nice. It's so lovely to know that.
Like, they watched.
It's like, oh, you watched it. Thanks. Okay, we're gonna be talking about gay shit next episode too, because
honestly, we're probably gonna talk about gay shit most of Pride Month.
We've got some gay streams coming up and stuff like that as well, so we might be talking about them, maybe getting ideas from you guys about them. So, yeah. Thanks for being here.
Maybe I paint my face like a rainbow
Oh,
again.
so fun. You should. You should. It's like a length you want, that kind of thing.
We could make a Google form or something.
Sorry,
and,
I'm just regretting
put it out there.
words I've said on the internet.
Lengthy one.
But yeah.
Lengthy one.
It scared me. You got very close.
Lengthy.
Fuck.